It's time for a vacation, and Fairway Travels is here to share great specials for you to choose from. Discover the charm and features of one of Sandal's 16 all-inclusive, luxury included, adults-only resorts, or a family-friendly beaches destination in the Caribbean. Or how about a couples resort in Jamaica? If cruising's your preference, get Thunderstroke aboard Carnival Cruise Lines or set sail on an award-winning Royal Caribbean ship. Join Virgin Voyages now for a wonderful adults-only sailing. It doesn't matter if you choose to travel by plane, train, automobile, cruise ship, or rowboat, we can help you reach your dream destination. Contact Fairway Travels today at 228-365-1012. That's 228-365-1012. Or email bookitnow247@gmail.com. Fairway Travels, where your journeys keep satisfying.
The station where our veterans' voices are heard, MBR Talk.
Hey, thanks for tuning in. Welcome, Quack.
Program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
Welcome to the Motivated Mindset with your host, me, Jose Flores, and we are going to go into the why behind what we do in life. Have you ever wondered what truly drives people? I know I do. What fuels their purpose and motivation? In this podcast, we're going to explore those profound questions, uncovering the stories and insights that shape our journeys. Join me as we navigate in the depths of human ambition and uncover the secrets to living a fulfilled life, purpose, and driven. Let's get motivated. Thank you. Hooah, ¿qué pasa, mi gente? Hey, welcome to another episode of the Motivated Mindset. But you know what? I want to welcome all my warriors of resilience and champions of purpose. You know, this is where we dive deep, you know, into big dreams, you know, because we're going to level it up. We're going to level this up, you know. And now y'all know I just don't bring anybody to the mic, you know. I bring change makers, trailblazers, and leaders who ignite. El fuego, that means fire. You know what I'm saying? And it's from the transformation, from the inside out. And today, buckle up, mi gente, porque si tú no sabes, va a aprenderlo. You know what I'm saying? So joining us is a powerhouse, a force, a woman on a mission. She's a leadership consultant, an empowerment coach, and a keynote speaker who walks boldly in purpose, dedicating her life to elevating women's leadership, advancing diversity, equity, and inclusion, and helping others unleash their authentic power. You know, she just doesn't speak. She moves rooms, builds leaders, and lights a fire under those ready to rise. She's known across boardrooms, campuses, and communities as a thoughtful leader who gets real, gets results, and gets you to believe in your why again. So I'm beyond honored to welcome to the show the incredible, the unstoppable, and the purpose-driven Mahasin, Abdullah, Dr. One each. So let's bring her on. Hooah!
The interview of the week is brought to you by Jersey Mike's, a sub above.
All right. Welcome, Dr. Abdullah. Welcome to the Motivated Mindset, ma'am.
Hello. How is everyone doing today?
Yeah, it is awesome. It is so awesome. Thank you again for being here. And you know, I always start with, you know, where you're from, you know, how you were raised. That people always want to know who we have on the show.
So yes, I am Dr. Mahasin Abdullah, CEO of MA Elite Enterprises. So I will start. I was born in California, Mission Hills, California, but I was raised in Salisbury, Maryland. I was raised to a single mother of 5 girls. Wow. I am the middle child, and I act just like the middle child. When you have 2 older sisters and 2 younger sisters, you know, I had to start a little trouble in the household every now and then. So that is who I am. You know, was raised by a beautiful, strong mother. And, you know, she is a big part of where I am today. And also what dedicated me to become, you know, women empowerment. Huge part of why I chose that. Because I saw her raise my sisters and I, and it really helped me pursue that passion.
So that shaped you. That was a lot of that's a lot of women in one place. I mean, that had to.
Yes, it is.
Oh my goodness. I grew up with just 2 sisters, and I couldn't imagine, with them, but they kept me in check. They always kept me in check, And so it was California. What part of California again, you said?
Mission Hills, California. So that is in Los Angeles County.
LA. Okay, Los Angeles County. I remember the first time I went there. I've never seen, it was just amazing because I worked at Housing Urban Development, how many homeless people there were there. And, it was really diverse, but that was one thing that struck, and how beautiful the city was, But yeah, I really enjoyed my time going there. But was there a defining moment that pushed you into the world, of leadership and consulting? Was there something that made you do what you do now?
So when I was in college, I was not doing too well. So it was back when my mother was allowed to truly still parent to me. And because I wasn't doing well in college, she said, well, military or out the house. So it was her that gave me that option to go into the military. And, 20 years later, here I am. And it was in the military. I had, half a dozen in one hand and half a dozen in the area, when I was stationed in places, amazing, beautiful places. I got Miami, DC, LA, Boston. That was amazing.
Yeah.
Couldn't complain. But then on the other hand, they did teach me leadership, but I also saw the lack of. And when I mean the lack of, the Coast Guard is white male dominated. And being white male dominated, I didn't see a lot of women who looked like me. And so I saw the struggles. And at one point, I was able to help the Coast Guard because when I went to college, and my dissertation was mostly on the lack of colored people in different organizations, hence DEI. I also saw that was only in certain locations for the Coast Guard. And so I realized the lack of leadership in certain areas meant lack of. And so that is really what helped me really pick my trajectory to say, I have to get out here and I have to help make a change in the world. And so it was really later on in my career, because when you're first joining the military, you want to do something, you want to make a change. And I could see that, but it wasn't really till I really understood and I really learned. So I want to say it was about that between the 10 and 12 year mark of my career that I started seeing myself saying, it's time for me to help make that change. I see now where I really have to help make the change.
Wow, that had to be something. I don't know a lot about the Coast Guard. I served in the Army, and I know while you was in the military, was there a lot of you said was there a lot of discrimination that you observed, and what kind of discrimination that you observed that was
So
really
yes. So not only did I feel it myself, but I witnessed it. I was actually even on a case where it went into an actual court. And when you see these cases, and then you find these people who are not guilty of discrimination, of sexism, of the bias, and you're living it. And you're staring because you're like, nobody's doing anything. There's no changes. And it's really frustrating because what are you supposed to do? You can't sit there because when you're not making a difference, you're part of the issue.
Right.
And I could no longer be part of that issue. And so I started speaking up. And when I spoke up, then I was a problem. Then I became a target. And so, but I refused to be quiet. So I was one of the noisemakers. I was a noisemaker, but I also became a leader, becoming a noisemaker. And although I had my setbacks, I was not able to promote twice. I was targeted, not able to promote twice. I still retired as an E7. So I still feel as if I won because I still was able to push myself to retire as an E7.
Well, no. And you just recently retired, didn't you?
Yes, I did last year, August of 2024.
And how does that feel? I know I asked you earlier, but how does that feel to be retired?
It feels amazing. I am so happy that I made it. My mom is proud. I have a praying mother. She prayed all the way because she knew.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, prayers up. That's right. Psalms 91. I understand that really well. No, but congratulations, first of all, on getting that DD 214. You know what I'm saying? And that's for the civilians, that's the form you get when you retire. It says honorable discharge. It's a very important important thing. I know you said, I remember when I retired, in my mind, it was terrifying. And it was, what I mean by that, like, I didn't know really what my skill sets were until, when I put in for my first job, and I just took, I think it was like in GS7. I didn't even know about negotiating and so on, I was like, oh, I could have negotiated. It's too late. I started the step one. And, but after I've been in a while, then I kept waiting for the rug to be pulled under me. I said, it can't be this easy. But the leadership that we're taught in the military really comes into play, whether in private sector or the government, and it really helped me. A lot of those things come into play, but it was hard for me when I first got out. But once I got in, okay, it was smooth sailing. Then I knew what my left and right limit was, and I took it from there. But it was quite an experience. Now, did you go with the Coast Guard? Did you go overseas any? Did you get a chance to go anywhere overseas?
So I didn't go overseas. I did. I was on a ship. So
the ship,
Coast Guard is a seagoing service, but I was only on the ship for 30 days.
It's not a boat, right? It's wrong to call it a boat.
So, the jokes, it's okay though.
I had to ask. Yeah.
I was only on our cutter for 30 days. So
okay, a cutter. Okay.
I never made it to the sea like I should have, but I did make it to the Cayman Islands, is where I went for a little fun. But I actually I did 10 years active and 10 years reserved, and that's how I did my career. I tried to step my foot out one time, and I did a sabbatical when I first had my daughter for a year. I didn't make it the first time, so I came back active duty. So that is part of my journey when I help women, and I said, I don't call it a failure, but a lesson, because I wasn't ready. And so I teach women, it's okay to not be set up the first time and not be ready. Just take your lesson and learn from it so you don't do it again. And that's part of my resilience story. Yes. Because you have to keep going. And the reason why I was making these mistakes are because of the situations I was in, and I did not have the right mentors. I did not have the right leaders. And when I chose to step away and go to the reserves, I was told by a white leader at the time to choose my career over my daughter. Wow. And I didn't like that. And that is why I chose to start coaching and helping women make decisions that are best for them. And at the time, my daughter's father, his career was just as demanding as mine. And so when you make decisions as women, we naturally choose our families. And it wasn't that he wasn't choosing family over his career. We just both had demanding careers. Right. And I couldn't keep up with the demands of, working on a watch, 12 hours. She was a baby. If she couldn't have both parents, somebody always has to make the extra sacrifice. And I knew I could, because this time around, I learned from my first mistake when I tried to step out. And I realized, okay, this is what I need to do this time around. And when I left from LA, instead of taking a 4-year contract and went to Boston, I did a 1 year. And I knew how to set myself up. And so I did 1 year in Boston on active duty. Then I went into the reserves, but setting myself up where I went back to school full time, which was difficult. But I transitioned from an intelligence background to cyber, which was just starting up. And so I transitioned, and then so I went into cyber intelligence. So within a year, it was still a struggle, but I was picked up immediately for a job in DC. And that's when I started that career. And so I did basically a career shift. And so it wasn't hard. It was hard, but it wasn't hard because I planned it out, and I had a support system and a praying mother.
Yes. So, and it is so important. When I was married, my ex was also, we were dual military, and we had to get a DEERS program, get all this stuff in case, and we had deployed then. So I can truly relate when it comes to having a child in the military, and it ain't easy. And it's even harder when you're a single parent and you're the only one. And it makes it hard, especially on the children, because you're always PCSing, going one place to another, and having a good support system is so important. And prayers are truly one of the ideal things. And I know we're going to talk about that too. But what we're going to do when we come back, we're going to take a quick break. I want to talk about you develop a powerful tool called Power.
Yes.
And we can talk about that when we come off break. So let's go on break. Here we go. All right.
It's the guts and it's the glory. 100 stripes, 100 stories. It's the Pledge of Allegiance on the 4th of July. It's them handwritten letters from home. It's them sleepless nights alone. It's his newborn baby he left with his wife. Mr. Red, White, and Blue, lay down, here's a line. Mr. Red, White, and Blue, for these stars and stripes. Hey. From the fields of Indiana to the swamps of Louisiana, to the golden coast of California, Uncle Sam's the only family he's got. His purple heartbeat won't stop, and his 18th birthday was the day he was born. Mr. Red, White, and Blue, lay down, here's a line. Mr. Red, White, and Blue, for these stars and stripes. Mr. Red, White, and Blue, stand on the front line. Mr. Red, White, and Blue, pay the ultimate price. Oh. He was the man of the house when he was born. His family is proud but torn. But if you knew him, you would understand. He was raised on how to be brave, just to see the flag still wave. And then he came home with only one hand. 'Cause Mr. Red, White, and Blue, lay down here to lie. Mr. Red, White, and Blue, for these stars and stripes. Mr. Red, White, and Blue, stand on these front lines. Mr. Red, White, and Blue, he'll pay the ultimate price. Mr. Red, White, and Blue, lay down his life. Mr. Red, White, and Blue, for these stars and stripes. March in line, march in line. Hey. Hey.
The station where our veterans' voices are heard. MBR Talk.
Hey, thanks for tuning in. Welcome, Quack.
Program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.
The web at mbradio.com.
Welcome back, everybody. So, Dr. Abdullah, what do you think about that video?
I like that video a lot.
That was stupendous. I know every time I hear it, it's just like, if I had hair, it'd be like all up and everything. But you know, I just get emotional when I hear it. That I love that song. It's really deep. You know, that's why I like playing it. You know, so I always ask my guests if they like it. So we had left off at Power. If you can explain to our audience what Power is.
So I came up with the Power framework as I was learning about my own journey. So as I was going through my own journey, I was like, okay, how did I become so resilient to everything that I've been through and all my lessons, you know, dealing with racism, bias, sexism as a female, and learning how to handle those challenges. And I first had to tell myself, how do I understand how to deal with these challenges, being in these situations? How do you deal with these challenges, when you're actually still sitting in those situations? And so what I would start to do is journal. And as I'm journaling, I said, okay, I'm getting somewhere, but I didn't know what yet. I didn't understand. So when I started putting stuff together, then I started praying. So journaling and praying. So I'm very big on my spirituality.
Yes.
And so I said, okay, God, so what are you showing me? What am I seeing here? And so, things started to come together for me. And I said, what is it that I can help with other women? And that's when I came up with my power framework. And what that stands for is the P, perseverance. O is ownership. W is wisdom. And wisdom is huge, because what I tell women is association brings assimilation. Who are you around? Because you never know what is coming into your mind, especially when you're going through these challenging times and trying to, come out of any situation, whether it's work, whether it's home, whether it's friends, whether it's finding your own self in any situation. You always have to understand where you're at in life, and you have to choose wisely. So wisdom is huge. Then you have the E, empowerment. Not only do you want to be around people who empower you, but how are you empowering yourself? Because it really truly starts with self. Because if you're not ready to bring yourself up, how can you expect to find those around you who can also bring you up? You have to be able to, see, who am I around? Who's bringing me down? You have to be able to do an audit of your own life. And people don't understand that. Audit your daily habits, audit your friends, audit your families. And it's not to say you can't, go around your family and friends, but not everybody's meant to go on every single journey with you. And if you are really trying to climb out of where you are now and take it to the next level of your own life, you have to audit everything around you. And then finally, it's the R, resilience. You have to be resilient to a lot of things that are going on around you. And it's all about your emotions. And a lot of people will say, you can be in any situation. You don't know how you're going to act until you're in that situation. But what I tell everybody, if you can control your emotions, you can control a lot of situations. And I'm not saying you can't be upset. I can be upset at a lot of situations, and we have a right to be upset. But if you can calm yourself down, things will go in a lot of different directions. And a lot of people really must understand that. And trust me, I have been angry at a lot of things, but I also have seen this side, Mahasin, you shouldn't have acted like that. And then I seen this side. Oh, well, I was very calm, and I have seen the difference. And I have seen that, but it took a lot for me to get here. It took a lot for me to understand my own framework and to be able to teach that to women, especially, and say, listen, this works. Listen, if you move differently and understand and really tune into yourself and not others around you, trust me when I say this framework will work, and it'll work for you.
Yes, that is Dr. Abdullah, that is a powerful tool, especially in these times, right? What's happening right now as we speak.
Yes.
And the communities that are being affected. And it's mostly, I only speak, being Puerto Rican, being Latino, I know it's affecting a lot of my people. And you're absolutely correct. Sometimes people will push you to get a reaction, especially when you deal with law enforcement, for example.
Yes.
I will never forget when I got stopped. And the first time I went, it was when I was in basic, and we had our first pass, and somebody called me a wetback, and I had no idea what that was. And I was with this white kid from Alabama, and he said, we need to leave. And I actually put my hand up because I had no ink. I was 17. And when he told me what that meant, I felt devalued,
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times we feel devalued and not worth when we're out there dealing with certain officials and having that empowerment. I love that. And I think that's a great thing to have. And how can that help, as we will take leaders, how can them leaders using power, how can that help them thrive? How can that work?
They really have to understand, they have to have that trust factor, because without that trust, they can't teach that to others and help others understand really how they can utilize that. And when it comes to the leadership aspect, I say you have to be a servant leader. That is putting others first. And when you really use servant leadership in organizations, your productivity is higher, your revenue is higher. And when you have that servant leadership, they naturally follow your lead. And when they naturally follow your lead, you can help them understand that empowerment within themselves. You can show them that empowerment because they're trusting you. So they're following your lead. So you can show and lead by example how to empower yourself. Thus, they're naturally following your lead.
Yes.
And so they have to understand that. And without that trust, like they have to see you trust yourself. They have to see you leading others. And so it's a crucial factor. Organizations have to understand how to lead with that servant leadership so that they can empower others within their organization.
Awesome. And on the same note, you know, for women who are stepping into, let's say, a leadership, what are the most common internal barriers you see, and how do you help them break through?
So the most common barriers that I see is still bias, is still the sexism. And what I would like to tell women is don't shrink for anybody. Do not shrink, because a lot of times once they get hit with that, they step back. Then they allow somebody else to come into the room. When you're at a meeting, when you're in a boardroom and somebody tries to talk over you, you don't let them. You continue to talk. I'm sorry, I wasn't finished speaking. Allow me to finish speaking. And, you know, you have to assert yourself so that they can hear you. Firm, so that they know that you're serious, but still professional. And, you know, I have sessions, I give talks where I give these tips and strategies where I tell women, do not allow yourself to shrink, because the moment they see you shrink, they will run all over you. So you have to stand firm. And it's difficult, but it can be done.
Got it.
And what I tell women to do every day, and I also have a journal. I made a journal on Amazon for African American women in the workplace. I give tips because I say it's very difficult when you work in hostile work environments. And I say find ways for yourself, because sometimes you're still battling every day. And I said, so for me, a tip for me that I found out myself that I didn't know that I liked was coloring. After a hard day at work, I realized that I love to color. And so I will come home and I will color. And people don't understand there's art therapy. And so some people didn't understand, you know, don't come home and gossip about your job to somebody else, because we still got to be grateful that we have a job, especially today, and that we're receiving a paycheck. So come home and find another way to decompress. There's coloring, there's art therapy, there's music therapy, and find ways to talk about it. You have to journal about it. And so in my journal, I give different tips to meditate, to find different ways to doodle, to journal. It's all kinds of ways that you can deal with this. But I also just tell women, you know, find a way around it. Find allies at work. That's a huge thing. Who are your allies? Because another ally will say, if somebody's trying to shrink you at work, oh, well, did you hear what Dr. Abdullah said? I agree with her and her tips that she has given for us in this boardroom. What she is saying is making sense. That ally is somebody who is liked, but they keep speaking up for you on your behalf.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Before we go on break, we had a question from someone in the audience. I'll post it up again from Tony DeMarco Harris, Ministry LLC. Are you finding women being resistant to making the necessary change to improve their lives? Thank you, Tony.
That's a good question. I would say sometimes yes. And that is where we come in with the mindset change. And I also do talks about mindset, because sometimes women now are stuck because they've been through so much. And so they've been through so much that they naturally become resistant, because everybody is resistant to change. And so now it comes back to the woman. Let's change your mindset. That's where we have to start. Let's change the mindset. The past is the past. How do you want to move forward? And we have to start there.
Wow. That is true. We're going to take another break. And when we come back, I want to talk about, you know, how, what strategies have you seen work when a team or an organization is stuck in what we call outdated thinking? And we'll talk about that. Let's take a quick break.
Sacred flowers, sacred mother, earth is crying for her daughters. Sacred flowers, sacred mother, earth is crying for her daughters. Where have you gone? Who took them from us? Who stole them from us? Sacred flowers. Sacred flowers, sacred mother, earth is crying for her daughters. Sacred flowers, sacred mother, earth is crying for her daughters. Blooming life on the res, bringing light to our lives. You are missing your miss. Sacred flowers.
The station where our veterans' voices are heard. MBR Talk.
Hey, thanks for tuning in. Welcome, Quack.
Program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.
The web at mbradio.com.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. I know every time, especially in the military, one of the things they taught us was about human trafficking. Every time I see that, I think about that, you know, and how many of our children, young ladies are taken, not just Native American, but, you know, that's always something that is on my mind, especially those who like, you know, have girls and grandchildren that are, you know, female and so on. But yeah, it just always gets me. I just needed to say that. I know we left off, you've helped, you know, leaders when they've been in units that are stuck in outdated thinking. You know, how have you helped those organizations out?
So what they need to do is basically reframe their focus.
Mm-hmm.
You have to make some changes. And how I recommend that they do that is they kind of have to freeze where they're at and take a look, audit what's currently going on. And that is huge. Are you all looking at short-term tasks, or are you trying to be strategic? Because everything leads to a larger picture. And sometimes one of the biggest challenges are when employees are working, they don't even know what they're working for. They know they're doing daily tasks, but they don't know what it's connected to. And a lot of leaders and organizations don't understand your employee needs to know what they're doing and why. It's a huge difference when they understand the why. And so it's all about the strategic picture. And so they have to reframe it so that the employees understand. And then when they do that, they don't understand that their employees have so many much better innovative ideas to help them reach the bigger picture. And those goals are met quicker, more efficient, effectively, because now they have allowed those creative thinkers to really start to think. And so it's all about opening it up and reframing the focus.
It's like they have buy-in. They're vested in it, right?
Yes.
And I think the military taught us that, from that E1 to that E9, that O1 to that O10, everybody know what the mission is, task, condition, standard, right? It comes all into play. You're absolutely correct, and you hit on something, it's like when, how would you define a culture of belonging, and how does that change the game from mission-driven organization, right?
Yes.
And that's what you would that be the same thing, kind of like?
Absolutely.
Yes.
And I think so many organizations still miss that today, because without that culture of belonging, I'm like, do you know how many ideas that you are missing right now? Just because an employee does not feel like they belong means they won't speak up. And they have the answer that you are missing, but they're afraid to tell you it. And it's all because they don't feel psychologically safe to speak up in this room, because you don't have that culture of belonging.
Absolutely. And I know many times, I mean, I remember when I was in, and even when I became, working for the government, I would ask my coworker or somebody that worked for me, hey, how do you see this? If you were in charge, how would you do this? And just step back and let them shine, because you and I know, as leaders in the military, it's our people that make us shine. That's it,
Yes.
And it's challenging sometimes when I'm out there. Like, I got to keep how did this guy make GS-14? I'm like, really, dude, but they make it in different ways. We won't get into that. That's something totally different, And I do want to ask you, because I know I heard how you were brought up and what you experienced in the military, but it's also emotionally heavy for you as an individual, as a human being. How do you stay grounded and while pouring into others?
So that was the hardest part for me, because in the beginning, I was not grounded. And so in the beginning, I had a hard time because I couldn't tell my mother, because my mother, she would have went off. And so, you have a praying mother, but she protects her kids. And so it's like, okay, I don't have no one to talk to about this. I don't have no one to talk to about how I'm being treated. You have your mentors in the military who are also going through the same thing. Then I had another mentor who told me, oh, you just work for white power hungry men. And I said, well, what am I supposed to do with this? Like, how do you expect me to move forward after telling me something like that? So when you're going through this, I didn't go overseas. I didn't fight in the war, but I have PTSD from working in these hostile environments.
Yes.
And so I had to go through extensive therapy, because even though I only did 10 years active, as I went into the federal sector, I felt myself, when I was working for white men in high positions, if they would say something, I was triggered. And I started picking up an attitude. I started talking back. I started doing things that then could jeopardize my career. And I started realizing some tendencies. They didn't even realize what they were doing. And I was just like, he's not attacking me. Or, this is me. I need to get a handle on this. So I went through extensive therapy, and I had to go through several therapists, because one thing I had to learn is every therapist is not for you. And every therapist doesn't understand you. And every therapist doesn't understand a woman of color and what she is going through, because a therapist once told me, oh, you don't have anxiety in the situation you're in. What some people didn't understand is anxiety in an African American does not show up as the same as anxiety in a white female. So that is completely different, because as African American, we are told to put on our cape, go to work, and not show symptoms. So you want to see how it shows up for me. And so that is the difference. And so I really had to find myself. I really had to pray. So I had my prayer closet. So I had to get on my knees, and I had to say, God, please help me find the strength and help me find myself. So I found my therapist through my church. And so when I found the right therapist, when I really started praying, is how I really was able to start grounding myself. And I found that community, the church community is what really helped me out. And then when I really opened myself up to really learn about everything. And so I learned about, myself. I learned about psychology side of the house of things. I learned about my history, because not knowing history about women of color, and understanding the things that I was going through. When I, growing up with the Coast Guard, I lost a lot of history. You don't see everything. I'm working with white men, I'm working with white women, which means there's nothing wrong with me. I'm not going through nothing. I don't have the symptoms. And so I had to relearn everything. Yes, there is something wrong with me. Yes, I do have PTSD. Yes, no, this is not okay what I'm going through. And so I had to understand that. And so what I tell people is commit to lifelong learning. No matter what our field is, no matter what our craft is, continue to learn. And so that is when I became big on psychological safety. That is when I became big on, people of color have different symptoms than others. That is when I really start to dig in, even though, my doctorate degree is in management. It is not in psychology. I still touched on psychology because I had to understand psychology within management to see the bigger picture. And so it is a lot of things that I was able to learn and understand. And once I really started opening myself up to that and understanding the history and putting it all together, I naturally began to ground myself. And I was like, okay, let me take a step back, let me review, and let me continue to, heal myself of everything that I've been going through. Let me forgive myself, because you get angry at yourself. You're like, oh, I didn't know, or why did I put myself in this situation? So forgiving myself was a big part of it.
Yeah.
Healing myself, and then telling myself, okay, it's time to move forward and help others.
Yes. No, I truly believe in the faith. I know I went through recently a personal issue, and I was saved in that process. And faith has been so big. When people say, when you see that fruits, but you have to read so you can get filled with, even the healer needs healing.
Yes.
Right. And I love the idea with the crayons. I love the way of reframing ourselves and taking a step back, because life isn't always what you think it is, especially where you're from. And I want to ask you one more question. I know you've worked with maybe with some powerhouse women and change makers. Is there one success story that stands out for you that you can share with us?
Yes. So my favorite success story is, when I was in the military, and being able to help others is huge for me. And I did not realize the impact that I had on 2 younger African-American females. And I'm still friends with them today on social media. And it was an incident for me where I had dyed my hair. I had dyed my hair, and I was written up for it. And I look back on this situation because at the time I didn't think it was a big deal. Did I fight it? Yes, because it was discrimination. I had dyed my hair a red color. The manual says you can only dye your hair a natural hair color. I was told red wasn't my natural hair color, so I couldn't do it. My mom let my command know, well, my daughter was born with blonde hair. So then they told me, oh, well, you can dye your hair blonde. The way I fought that was when I started making the changes in my life. And I said, I looked at these 2 African-American girls and I said, don't let anyone ever tear you down or tell you what is or what isn't. I said, because had my mom not proved to them that I was born with blonde hair and blue eyes, they would have called me a liar.
Wow.
I was the only one in my family who was born like that. I said, but had my mother, mind you, I'm over 18. My mother didn't have to be involved. They didn't even have to listen to her, but they did. And had she had not stepped forward and said that, I would have been a liar. But they said, oh, well, then you can dye your hair blonde. But if I had just dyed my hair blonde, I would have been written up for that too, because that wouldn't have been my natural hair color. So in that moment, I had, continued to push them and say, if it's discrimination, you fight for it. If it's sexism, you fight it, and I just continue to push them and push them and push them. Naturally, I had moved on. Well, one of the girls had reached out to me and she said, I still follow you till this day. And I want to thank you, because she is out of the military, but she is amazing. She has a family. She is settled down. And she says, just from that moment and just to follow you and to see who you are today, I'm just so grateful, because she said, I've always watched you and you helped me just, make it to the next step. And she said, I realized, although I didn't do 20 years in the military, I realized what my next step was because of how you taught me to move forward and never give up. And so that situation really helped me because I did not realize at that time that I touched those two girls and that they would still be watching me today.
Absolutely. You know, you never know who's watching you. You never know. You know, that is so true. Now, that's an awesome story. And a lot of military ones, because we do teach, coach, and mentor. And it does transition when you become a civilian. That is so true. Thank you for sharing that. We have another question from Tony. And he says, are you finding women being resistant to making the necessary change to improve their lives?
So yes, I am. And that's when I had mentioned the mindset change with women. And you have to teach them when they're becoming resistant, just like anything, everybody is resistant to change. They're afraid. You know, it's more so being afraid when you're used to something being the way it is and nobody's helping you. Then you tell yourself, well, this is going to be the way it is. It's kind of like you have so many negative thoughts. Life and death is in the power of tongue. And, you know, so speak the difference over your life. That's number one. Number two, you have to combat your mind. Do not let your mind think that negativity and that resistance. So that's when I teach women, it's all about what it is in your mind. Why are you thinking this way? What can we change to make you think differently? Who are you around who is, you know, go around people who can help you think differently. Put yourself in situations where you're not thinking any type of negativity where you can't change your life for the better. Because a lot of times with the situations like we are in today, so many African-American women have lost their jobs. So right now, like specifically, especially with jobs, women are afraid. We're not going to get a job. We're not going to get a job. Just speak differently. Even if it's taking you 6 months, just don't even speak the negativity of, I'm not going to get a job. I'm going to get a job. Even if it may take 6 months, I am going to get a job. It's just keep speaking that positivity over your life. It is important because, as I said, this is my favorite scripture of the Bible. There is life and death in the power of tongue.
Yes. Thank you for sharing that. And you hit on one thing, because I wanted to ask, you know, what advice would you give to someone who's listening but has doubts, who's stepping into a leadership, especially a woman, you know, a female that wants to give? What would be the best advice that you would give with the doubting themselves?
So if you are doubting yourself, keep going. Do not give up. There is no right time for anybody. Your time is right for you, your timing, you know, so keep going, keep pushing, keep trying. When it is meant to happen for you, it's going to happen for you. And so don't give up. That's what I tell everyone. Do not give up. Keep going. And
what is some of that? I'm gonna put your website out. And what exactly do you offer organizations, individuals, for somebody with all we talked about today?
So I do offer individuals one-on-one coaching. If you go on my website, you can book a calendar call with me and we can talk about the different options that I can offer you one-on-one. My one-on-one call, 15, 30 minutes calls, that is free. So you can contact me for free, that call. As far as organizations, I do women empowerment, speaking, coaching, and training. And I do leadership, specifically servant leadership training and coaching for large organizations as well. That is also on my website. To contact me, the contact information is on my website as well.
And you also have a LinkedIn page.
Yes, I do.
Also, there's a LinkedIn page there, and I'll put this in the chat too. And you have an email also if they need to get a hold of you.
Yes.
And it's right there. So make sure you get that, team. And I wanna ask another question. You know, Dr. Abdullah, what legacy do you want to leave through your work and your life?
So the biggest legacy that I want to leave is to, especially to women, is to know that you have the power to be who you want to be. You have the power to step into this world and be your authentic self. And the reason why that is so important to me is because right now I have a 17-year-old daughter, and I know that she has seen moments of me when I was not my authentic self. And I don't never want her to see that again. And so not only am I teaching her, but I want to teach every other woman out there, you can truly be your authentic self no matter what room you are in, and to keep going.
Yes, absolutely. And I also want to, is there anything that you haven't covered, anything else that you want to say that maybe I didn't ask, or just to, as we get ready to close this up, anything you want to say, ma'am?
just to remind everybody that in the times that we are in today, just keep going. Just keep going. Keep your head held high with prayer. Just keep going. Just know that there are good times ahead. Keep the faith and things will all work out.
That is great advice always. And I know for a lot of us, especially those that work in the government, it's different times that we're walking in. And having that faith, having, leadership, having something that Dr. Abdullah talked about is key, so make sure that, you shoot an email. I'll just put her email in the chat, and I'm going to keep this up if you need to get her website. But Dr. Abdullah, I'm really happy that you came, gave us what we needed to hear for today. I know for me, I took a lot away. I'll be getting on your website and following. And also, don't you have a book? Can you talk about that? I saw your book.
Yes. For those ladies, I have a journal on Amazon. It is for African American women in the workplace. Please grab the journal. If you just put my name in, Dr. Mahasin Abdullah, it'll pop right up at the top. It is a journal for you to help you get through. It covers about 10 weeks, gives you different ideas on how to journal, different things like doodling, coloring, all kinds of ideas, gives you prayers, scriptures, everything. So please grab that journal to help you get through your workday.
Mm-hmm. And do you have anything upcoming within the next 6 months to a year? Any things that's upcoming for you that you're showcasing?
For next year, I am just working with a couple of colleges to be on their showcases for Women History Month. So once I have those solidified, I will pop all of those on my website.
And Dr. Abdullah, so one of the things that I do, there's this thing called Common Ground. Next year, we have a program called Women in the Military. And I may be reaching out to you because women in the military they're not recognized as they should. I know, so I might be reaching out to you. I'll let you know, but it's a class to educate not only, our males, but our females out there who are civilian about women in the military and all the contributions they have. I will tell you that the best commander I ever had was a female commander. She was strategically smart, common sense. She was the 3 C's. Cool, calm, and collective. I respected her. It was awesome. It was awesome. So, I'll keep that up. But I want to tell everybody, hey, thank you for being here. We got another minute, and I got all her information. If you need any more, you can reach out to me or to Dr. Abdullah. And she is the real thing. I'm so happy that you're here and that you gave some good information, some golden nuggets that we all can take, So with that being said, I will be signing off. And next week, we'll be having a blues singer, Miss Shawana Rice from New Orleans. So, hey, if you want to hear some music, hey, just come on. But thank you, Dr. Abdullah, for being here. And it's been stupendous. Thank you to my audience. Bye-bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to Military Broadcast Radio. As we wrap up today's show, we want to remind you that the podcast of today's episode will be available right after we go off the air. So if you missed any part of the show or want to listen again, be sure to check it out. And remember, we're here to support and honor our veterans. Your stories and experiences matter, and we are committed to giving you a platform to share them. That's right. We're here to give our veterans a voice. So don't forget to catch the podcast and stay connected with us. Giving our veterans a voice.